you're thinking about getting bottom surgery or like gonna get bottom surgery soon, I think presently in this moment, the best advice I can think of is to make sure that your car seats are wipeable.
But when he gets out, he leaves doggy odor and hair everywhere. Removing the mess is such a frustrating chore. Not anymore. Introducing the Pet Rider, the waterproof, perfect pet seat cover.
Welcome back to Metoidioplasty Moments, where we look at first-person narratives of the surgical course of transitioning medicine, trying to change your sex through surgery, hormones, and other methods, or otherwise trying to look like the other sex. I'm your host, call me X, and I respond to these and give my opinion on why they have a predictable course that they do that I believe everyone will come to see. For those of you new to my channel, by day I'm a licensed speech language pathologist, and then in my spare time, when I have the time, I upload content where I react to these because I previously identified as trans and I've seen it up close and personal. Now I'm concerned about the direction things have gone in, the younger and younger ages, popularity of it, the fact that it seems to be a fad, and a very expensive one at that leads to lifelong misery.
And if they're not, get a seat cover that is wipeable, because you're relearning how to pee and you're relearning how to hold your pee. And
it looked like she flashed anger as well as sadness and fear. And so that makes sense given her situation. She's trying to make the best of it. She's trying to be like, you know what, I'm strong. I can get through anything. What if you'd been encouraged to apply that attitude in advance of the surgery?
You're going to be like 6 weeks post-op and feeling really good and confident about yourself. And then all of a sudden you're going to be too far away from a bathroom while you're driving. And then you're sitting in a puddle of your own pee. And you're going to be okay because you have a change of clothes that you've learned to carry with you. But you're also going to want to wipe your car seats down.
Dysphoria cured.
And so you need a nice, like, pleather wipeable surface to do that.
The Pet Rider protects the seats from any mess. Its heavy gauge waterproof surface wipes clean in seconds. No odors.
Or so I've heard. So.
Did we have some second thoughts?
This is my voice 1 day on T. This is me 1 week on T.
This is me 1 month on T.
This is me 2 months on T. This is me 3 months on T. This is me 6 months on T.
This is me 9 months on T. This is me 1 year on testosterone.
Trans identifying women, otherwise known as trans men, want to lower the pitch of their voice through testosterone. That's one of the reasons they take it. And here, though, you can hear from this video progression that it's not just that the pitch of her voice is lowering, but just as with my voice right now, and I'm recovering from some laryngitis, mostly over it. But you can hear that there's sort of a frog in my throat quality, and that's because the actual tissues themselves have not fully recovered yet, and so there's a little bit of hoarseness to it. You're not getting that deep resonant tone that you guys are used to, which I can alter my muscle patterns and use more breast support and try to like overcome it. And that's what a lot of trans identifying men or trans men, trans identifying, stop making me keep track of it. I just let me talk. But it's something that they'll do until they can't do anymore. And so I can do it with a great deal of effort right now because I'm mostly recovered. But last week it was more like this, and this is creaky voice. So there's not enough air to generate that resonant tone. And over time, because the tissues are changing in size, they're changing in stiffness, they can compensate until they can't compensate anymore, and then their voices may take on this what's known in the literature that I've seen is a transmasc voice disorder, is what it's typically called. This is not a guaranteed 100% everyone who takes testosterone gets this eventually. That's not how it works. I've always been very curious about why some people get it and some don't. I'm being very curious about that. I suspect it has something to do with the dose that they take, the frequency of administration, the route of administration, and probably also genetic factors, what kind of androgen receptor they have, how sensitive they are to it, and what other substances they're on. They're all sorts of things are going to factor into whether their experience with testosterone leads to the frog voice or allows them to have a more masculine sounding tone that still sounds modal. It's called MODAL, mode meaning most common.
What is up, you guys? So in my last video update about bottom surgery, I talked about how bottom surgery is going to be 4 surgeries kind of packed into one. So I wanted to like break that apart and go through each of the individual surgeries to kind of give more info on it. So the first step is going to be the hysterectomy. That's kind of your standard hysterectomy procedure. So it'll be laparoscopic, so as minimally invasive as organ removal can be.
What I find so interesting about this person is how you can see at so many points that I've pointed out how there's the rational linguistic side of her that trusts her doctors and is just relaying the information from the authority figure directly to you. I heard it, I say it. And then there's like the experiential part of her that's got its doubts. It's like so I'm not going to get into what it is, but I have an upcoming procedure that I was looking up, and it said it's advertised as non-surgical. And then I looked at the definition of a surgery on the AMA website from 2023, and I'm like, this is definitely a surgery. Like according to the like, why are they allowed to advertise it as non-surgical? And so I feel like this woman's having a different or a similar impression, where she heard minimally invasive, but then she knows they're taking out an organ that's actually not minimally invasive. So you can kind of see that she's starting to have this internal cognitive dissonance where she doesn't agree with herself, but she's not quite ready to admit it.
And they're going to clear out everything, the uterus, ovaries, in particular with the female to male gender affirming bottom surgery, you do have the option to leave in one ovary. The reason you would do this is because if like worst case happened and I don't have access to testosterone, whether it's, for some reason insurance stops covering it, apocalypse happens, that political leader gets voted into office and bans access to insurance healthcare, kind of whatever, I don't have testosterone anymore. This way my body would at least still be naturally producing a hormone. So a lot of people opt to leave it in as kind of that safety net. I personally chose to just take it all out.
Does it seem like they really believe that they are about to lose access to these drugs? Because it doesn't seem that way to me.
This is because I still get ovarian cysts despite not having menstrual cycles. So like still cyclically, I'm getting really bad cramping and pain because of ovarian cysts despite not having a period anymore.
Look, it's really important to understand that ovulation and menstruation are entirely independent functions. So the fact that you're on a drug that makes you stop menstruating does not mean that you've stopped ovulating. Ovulation is a function that's controlled by your brain, and that's why the hormones that they give you for birth control work on your brain. That's how they stop the ovulation. It was news to me. It's probably news to a lot of you, but it stops the function of your brain, and that stops the production in your brain of hormones that then go throughout your body and they cause your ovaries to produce an egg. And so the testosterone might make it so that you're not building up an endometrium and you're not menstruating, and may make it harder to get pregnant. But as we know from the accidental seahorse series, there's plenty of cases, and the literature confirms this, that where that's has something called a breakthrough ovulatory event, and they don't know how often that happens. So good luck. They're told that it's not possible to get pregnant, but then they get pregnant while they're on a drug that's classified as a teratogen because it can cause virilization of female fetuses, as can other drugs that are used for gender affirming menstrual suppression, because they both mimic and block and otherwise affect the metabolism of testosterone, in addition to acting on the brain very similarly to puberty blockers. So all these drugs, if they're being given, especially for trans medicine, but often even when they're being given just for contraception, the people receiving them don't know what they're getting. It's not fully explained, and they're treated as if they're insane if they start noticing that the drug is affecting them in other ways. And they're gaslit about it. And the drug is not explained to them fully. So they're not able to connect some dots, for instance, about medical symptoms and psychiatric symptoms that they've had since they started birth control, maybe 1, 5, 10, 15 years ago. Maybe we need to start telling women the truth.
So this would take out problems with that, removes any chance of ovarian cancer, and then over time that ovary does kind of deteriorate and die off a little bit.
It is very possible that the cysts are being directly caused or exacerbated by the testosterone use itself. So she may be having a situation where her brain is trying to tell her ovaries to ovulate, but the testosterone is preventing the follicles from breaking, resulting in cysts, according to the literature I'm seeing online. So they created a problem. She took accountability for it because she's female, and that's what females are encouraged to do, is to feel like it's our fault for reacting to our bodily changes that are being caused by medicine or which just are different and haven't been acknowledged yet. So she's in a situation where she's been talked into giving up her birthright, which is access to sex hormones. That's her birthright. And she's giving it up. And she's just counting on there not being a change in political will, counting on there not being any sort of drug shortage. She's just fingers crossed. At least I won't get ovarian cancer.
So I'm just kind of opting to take it out now and prevent any of that stuff. But yeah, both choices are perfectly fine. It all is like it literally is personal preference.
That's the con. But as we know, it's not a matter of personal preference whether you have access to sex hormones. There's consequences to that. There's long-term consequences to being jack-o'-lanterned at this age.
They go through the vagina in order to make incisions along the wall of the vagina and remove it entirely. I personally like to refer to it as jack-o'-lanterning, but I think that might be a little gruesome for others.
It's not a matter of personal preference, like there's no consequence. It's not pink or blue. It will affect a functioning later. There is a functional difference here between having the substances in your body that you need when you need them and not having access to that.
The doctors don't even like sway a certain way unless you have ovarian cancer or like medical stuff like ovarian cysts. It's all personal preference. So that's my choice, and that is the hysterectomy side of bottom surgery.
One reason I believe that the number of people transitioning who are female versus male is so wildly disproportionately female these days is because a lot of the women who are seeking this are running from something, and what they're running from is sexual trauma. They're running from people violating their consent. They want to feel in control. They want to feel like they're making choices and that the choices are being respected.
If you have questions, let me know, and then next we'll dive into the vaginectomy side of it. What is up? So last time I talked about part 1 of my 4-part bottom surgery, which was the hysterectomy.
The younger you are when your uterus is removed, the greater your chances of early dementia. It's not entirely clear why this is the case. It's just known that that is a statistical reality. We wouldn't be able to know whether the uterus removal causes it or simply is associated with it unless we took a group of young, healthy women and removed their uteruses and saw what happened. But we would never do that, right? That's definitely not what's happening.
Performed by a gynecologist surgeon. So part 2 is going to be the vaginectomy. What that is the removal of the whole vagina.
I've seen this referred to in the trans community as jack-o'-lanterning.
The vagina is a long muscular tube that connects your vulva, which is the outer part, up to the cervix, which is the opening for the uterus, which will be already pulled out at this point.
How'd that get in there?
The 2 options to do this surgery are through the vaginal canal or laparoscopically. Since the laparoscopic setup will already be in place for the hysterectomy portion, this surgeon's just going to jump in